Hey YouTube, I'm back, okay? Y'all, when I tell y'all I could not wait to do this review, like I could not wait. Y'all already know what I'm here for. I'm here to give y'all my take on Iyanla Fix My Life, Hazel-E, Erica, whatever she wants to call herself. Yeah, I feel some type of way about her, okay? But before I get into that, if this is your first time coming to my channel, and you are not a subscriber, please click that subscribe button. I promise you won't regret it. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support. Okay, now back to the matter at hand, Miss Hazel-E, okay? Now, y'all know I usually give y'all like really detailed reviews and like literally go into like every single segment of the show. But I have so much emotion tied into this episode because according to Miss Hazel-E, I'm a monkey looking dark butt, okay? But I will get into that in a second, okay? Now, we all know this season on Iyanla, we see the trailers, the clips. We know people who, reality stars who we are going to expect to see this season. We were going to expect to see Hazel-E. And the last time we saw Hazel-E, or her name was in the blogs, was when she was on the blogs referring to dark-skinned women as monkey-looking dark butts, okay? And y'all just coming for my pretty A and blah, 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 okay? Yeah, I've never been a fan of Hazel-E. Like, ever, okay? She came on Love and Hip Hop, and what she showed to us, our perception to us, that was our reality. Regardless of who she is outside of the show, we don't know her, Erica. She introduced us to Hazel-E, and Hazel-E has not been the most pleasant person to watch on TV. She hasn't had the most pleasant interactions with other women. So when she says these types of things online, I was not shocked whatsoever. So me seeing her on Iyanla Fix My Life was like, girl, bye. Like, you want me to feel sorry for you? Like, I think you meant everything you said. And it's going to be real hard for me, you know, a monkey looking dark butt, according to you, which I know I'm not, but, you know, for giggles on her part, because I don't think it's funny at all. Let's just go with that, okay? I don't feel sorry for her, and it's really hard for me to feel sorry for her because I've never really seen her painted in a positive light on TV. And a lot of people say, oh, VH1, you know, that's distorted. The producers made her look that way. No, you give them the content. You give them the video footage, okay? If you gave them a whole bunch of negative video footage to use against you, you should have outweighed it with a whole bunch of positive, or you shouldn't have given them anything negative. So they didn't make you say the things that you said and do the things that you did. She's forever getting into fights with people. She's forever calling women out of their names. She's forever being like, I'm the boss B, I'm on top, y'all beneath me. Girl, bye, okay? So going into this, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit biased because Hazel-E is not my favorite person, but it helps you understand her a little bit more, but I don't have an excuse for her, and I don't feel sorry for her. And as a grown woman, she needs to get it together, okay? So, yeah, I'm usually so pleasant on here, okay? But let me just get into it so I can stop venting and being in my feelings, okay? So, let me just start off with how the episode began. The episode began with Iyanla meeting with Hazel-E's mother. Her mother's name is Angela. They kind of favor each other a little bit. You could definitely tell, you know, that's her birth mom. Okay, so she meets with Angela because she basically feels like, you know, she has to get to the root of the problem, you know, how Hazel-E was raised, get a little bit of her background, and basically the whole idea of most of the time the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. So maybe she got some of these tendencies from her mother. Okay, so she meets with her mom. We get background on Hazel-E. Hazel-E's mother, Angela, got pregnant when she was in high school. Her father did not approve of that, so her father made her get married to the person that she was pregnant by, okay? Not that she wanted to get married, but she was made to get married. I believe when Hazel-E was very young, her father died. So Hazel-E only has a select few memories of her father, okay? So her father basically was her mother's dad. So her grandpa helped to raise her because her birth father is no longer living. Okay, so that's one element. Another element to it is that her mom has was in an abusive relationship growing up. So Hazel-E saw a lot of like chaos and instability. Hazel-E specifically remembers moving, often when she was younger, and she remembers moving late at night as to not disturb the man that her mother was with, because he would hit her and then he would also hit Hazel-E as well. And basically, like, they didn't want like her mom to like, be in fear of her life because they upset him. So Hazel-E is also watching this growing up. Okay. So, but from her mother's point of view, her mother was, a single mom just trying to make it happen. She thought that she did the best that she could under the conditions that they were in, and she doesn't really fully understand what happened with her daughter. She said she knows Erica. Hazel-E is a personality on TV, and Hazel-E was able to separate the two, her personality and her true self, for maybe the first two seasons of Love and Hip Hop. The most recent season she was on, those personalities started to collide, and she started to become more of this Hazel-E character rather than the true Erica. Okay, so Iyanla points out some lyrics to Hazel-E's songs that to her mother, and asked her mother if she was familiar with them, and she had her mother read the lyrics out loud. So she reads the lyrics out loud. The pop my butt, yeah, pop my butt. Something about him getting a little feel, yada yada yada. And she was like, this is very degrading and demeaning, and what do you think when you hear her say these things, especially being that that's not the woman you raised her to be, yada yada yada. And I'm thinking to myself, Iyanla, don't even trip off the lyrics, because nobody knows Hazel-E's lyrics. Like, seriously. When they said the lyrics on the screen, that was my first time ever hearing them, because I promise to goodness I've never heard one song from Hazel-E, and I don't plan on hearing another. But anyways, so the whole pop my butt, yeah, pop my butt. I'm like, Iyanla, you're gonna have a lot of conversations with a lot of people out here in music, because a lot of the lyrics sound like that, okay? But anyways, so that's another part of it, is her lyrics. And this is all the way that she's portraying herself in public. Okay, so her mother, is not really shocked. She doesn't like it, but it is what it is, whatever. Her mother is very down to earth, and kind of like, not down to earth. She's nonchalant. She just doesn't really have much to say about anything. Okay, so then we get Hazel-E. Of course, Iyanla tells Hazel-E, girl, I'm shocked you wanted to meet with me. Especially me. I'm a dark-skinned woman. And Hazel-E is like, no, I don't have a problem with you. It was just that girls online was messing with me at that point in time, and I felt like they was bullying me. So I came for them. And I know now that wasn't the right thing to do, but at the time, that's what I did. Okay. So I really feel like when people get really angry, and even if they feel provoked, that's when their true feelings come out. I honestly feel like, people are like, oh, I said it, but I didn't mean it. Okay, but where did it come from then? Like, clearly you meant it. Obviously, it's the way you feel about yourself on the inside, and you're projecting it on me, or you've been dying waiting to say this piece of information about me. So when people say, I didn't mean to say that, I never believe that. I'm sorry. You were just waiting for the opportunity to say that, okay? And I truly believe that Hazel-E, she said what she meant, and she meant what she said. She's just regretting it because she has an image to uphold. So speaking of image, Hazel-E said there's plenty of times, because her mother was in an abusive relationship, where her mother would, she would be abused one day, and the next day she'd put on like all this makeup and a whole bunch of red lipstick, like basically covering up scars and making it appear as if everything is all good, and going to work the next day. And it was basically just something that was just supposed to be like unspoken, okay? And Hazel-E pretty much conformed to those ways as well, okay? We have to put on a certain public image so that people will not know what's truly going on, and we can maintain our positive public image. Okay, so I honestly think because Hazel-E is focused on public image, I think that's why she's kind of trying to clean it up right now. Um, but once again, I think she meant what she said. But whatever. So then at some point, Iyanla takes Hazel-E into what she calls a legacy room. So this legacy room is basically supposed to be related to, it's supposed to be a representation of the foundation of Black women. So um, she basically tells Hazel-E, like, do you know, with all these women on the wall, so there's women such as Rosa Parks, Hattie McDaniels, Pearl Bailey, Dorothy Dandridge, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, and much more, many more women on the wall that are historical, like, Black female monuments. And she tells Hazel-E, like, do you even know what these women had to do and had to go through in order for you to be on TV at this point in your life? Because Hazel-E is a Black woman as well. And so Hazel-E, of course, she's familiar with Rosa Parks did, but then Iyanla kind of schools her on like what some of the other women on the wall had to go through, and basically telling her it's important for you to know your history. None of these women would have called any woman out of her name or disrespected another woman. There were much more important things during their time. They were fighting for equality, like they were fighting for just like Black rights in general, just for even Black people to be even considered a whole person at that time. They were fighting for freedom. Now we do have those same problems nowadays. We're not slaves, but we're dealing with a whole bunch of other things in today's current society that would take way too long for me to go through. But y'all know what it is. It's 2018. So, Hazel-E is basically, like shaking her head, agreeing with her. Then Iyanla has her read her lyrics out loud, like to these women. And of course, it's embarrassing. She doesn't want to read it, but she said it. She put it out there in the atmosphere. So it's basically like just eating your own words, okay? She's like, say what you put out there about you doing pop my butt, pop my butt. What do you think that means to Harriet Tubman? Because to Harriet Tubman, in that time, that would have mean that she was getting whipped because she was a slave. You saying that now means something totally different, but like that's disrespectful. That's degrading. Okay. So then she also says something about Hazel-E talking about she got it all. She's a frost bee, a boss bee, yada yada yada. And she's just like basically telling her like, look how ridiculous you sound when you look at these positive, monumental Black figures, that we have to thank for being where you even are today. And this is how you're repaying them for their hard work. So that's something to reflect on. But Hazel-E enjoys this Hazel-E character. So I don't know that Hazel-E fully cared about that. But anyways, going into a little bit more of the meat of why her and Iyanla were even having a conversation about colorism at this point. Apparently, Hazel-E was instructed by her mother not to say one of her childhood memories, childhood traumas that happened. She was instructed by her mother to basically cover that up, but she told producers about it before the show started. So Iyanla brought it to light. Basically, when Hazel-E was younger, she was like violated by I believe it's multiple dark skinned Black girls. And she told her mother, and her mother did what she could at the time, but her mother doesn't really say much about it now, and she really didn't want it to be brought to light. She was a young mother at that time, and she didn't know much of what to do. She just did what she can, and she never went into detail about what she did. But at that point, Hazel-E felt like they came for her because she was light skinned and they were dark skinned and they didn't like her because of her skin color. So them violating her as a child has affected her all the way throughout her childhood in the way that she kind of views darker skinned black women as kind of like the enemy, or as if she has to be on the defense in some type of way because they're always going to come for her. This is why she says stuff like, all these B's are mad at me coming for my pretty A, because she feels like, oh, they're hating on her because she's light skinned. Okay, so Iyanla brings up this conversation to Hazel-E's mother, Angela, and initially Angela acted like, oh, what? That happened? I don't even remember that happening. So Iyanla kind of snaps, like, what do you mean your daughter was violated and you don't remember? And she's like, oh, wait, I do remember now. It was a group of black girls. Oh, okay. And so you can tell that this is just like a memory that they're trying to displace, but this has obviously affected Hazel-E for such a long time and the way that she views her fellow sisters. So this is something that definitely should have been addressed. So it is addressed later on in the show. This brings us to a very important portion of the show where they spoke on colorism. It wasn't just Hazel-E and her mother, but it was other black female celebrities that are represented in our society. Some light skinned, some dark skinned, some smaller, some bigger. So it was a good variety. And so she would basically sit the women back to back, not back to back, but face to face, and it would be a lighter skinned woman and a darker skinned woman, and they would tell each other their experiences and why one woman hurt the other woman. And of course this isn't personal, but it's basically like, as a light skinned woman, this is why dark skinned women hurt me, and as a dark skinned woman, this is why light skinned women hurt me. Or they would share their experiences. As a light skinned woman, this is what I was told growing up. As a dark skinned woman, this is what I was told growing up. And I honestly felt like, because I don't believe Hazel-E, but I'm glad that she had this episode because the issue of colorism was brought up on television, and I just think that is a conversation that needs to be had, and not just this one time. That conversation needs to be continual, because colorism was something that has been just drilled into our minds since back in the slave days. And I feel like it's like a mechanism that was set up for us to divide and conquer, for us to hate each other in a sense. So during the episode, they talked about basically how back in the slave days, there was the lighter slaves that were considered the house slaves, and then the darker slaves that were considered the field slaves. So, of course, the darker slaves felt like the lighter slaves had it better because they were in the house, or they were maybe treated better, or they were massa's favorites in a sense. Whereas if some of the slave owners were violating the slaves, they forget that the lighter skinned slaves, they were getting violated too. I mean, they were just closer to them, and they just had to walk a little bit further out in the field to get the darker slaves. So neither one of them had it better than the other. It was a bad situation, but the way that the slave master set it up was as if, oh, you have it better than this person, you're better than this person, because in a sense you kind of passed the brown paper bag test. They also talked about the brown paper bag test. They talked about how, when you grow up as a kid, there's that idea, and yeah, I'll just talk from my experience, because when I was watching, I don't have to talk from their experience, I can talk from my own. When I was watching it, of course, you watch things on TV and you relate yourself to it. And I am almost 30 at this point, and I even remember me growing up, being around lighter skinned women and darker skinned women. I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody, but colorism was still prevalent, today, and especially when I was growing up, because in a darker skinned girl's mind, it was like, oh, she's light skinned, so she automatically probably has better hair, or like white people aren't going to be intimidated by her, or like boys are going to like her quicker than they like me because like she's like has like an exotic look to her, or she's like automatically labeled as pretty because she's light skinned. And I think some of that came from white people and black people, because I've had white people and black people both tell me like, "Oh, you're really pretty for a dark skinned girl," and I'm thinking, what? Like, what does my color have to do with it? Like, as if you're shocked that I am attractive to you because I'm dark skinned, and you just, I guess since I'm dark skinned, you didn't expect me to be attractive, or I'm brown skinned, whatever. I'm not light skinned, and I've heard, light is right, or now I really love in today's day and age, we're really like embracing like, melanin or like brown girls. And I mean, I like all girls. Hey, hashtag black girls rock, because I think that black women specifically, like we come in so many different like shades, sizes, shapes. Like I just feel like we're so unique, and like, like black girls rock, black girl power, black girl magic. I love it all. And I'm glad that that's something that we're embracing, and we're having award shows towards it. Remy Ma, her song, I love how even, oh yeah, Beyonce, okay, at Beachella, I loved her representation on stage, that she had all of these different women, and they were all like light skin, dark skin. I saw white women in there. I saw thick women. I saw skinny girls. Like, I love that, because even when I was growing up in music videos, you always saw like the video vixen was like a light skinned girl, and, like maybe like she wasn't like super super thick, like she had like a perfect body, or sometimes it was like it got to the point where she's like, oh, she has a big butt, and I'm like, ooh, people are gonna accept me now because I look like her. But whatever. But a lot of times the leading lady was a light skinned girl, or the girl with like the wavy curly hair getting out the water, and I'm like, what is this? Because even on the magazines, like it's going to be a white girl, or maybe a light skinned girl, or maybe a mixed girl. So I think that this is something, colorism has been shoved in our face in so many different directions, from our own people, from the media, of course, from people from other races. And I honestly think that it's something that still affects us to this day. Case in point, Hazel-E. So I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had more often than just on Iyanla. I would have loved it if the entire episode was focused around colorism, okay? Iyanla, help us all fix our life, okay? We're getting there. We're progressing. But since this is something that was ingrained in us for years and years and years and years, I definitely think it's going to take more conversation for us to get out of that, like, stinking thinking, and, to really just fully embrace all of us and all shades and all colors. So I definitely thought that that was a good point that came out of this episode. Iyanla says that she saw Hazel-E in a totally different light. Hazel-E is not the same person that she came in as. According to the quotes according to the updates at the end of the show, Hazel-E is supposedly like getting better, learning more about her. About the prominent black women that came before us, so she can learn her history. And then she's trying to have a more conscious voice on social media, even if that just means not posting negative things. Now, um, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe just last week, or maybe the week before, Hazel-E posted something on social media about Cardi B. I could be wrong. Yeah, wait, let me look real quick, because I gotta know this. Okay, so basically, I found it. A lot of celebrities do post and deletes on Instagram, Twitter, everything nowadays. But once it's out on the internet, people screenshot, you're going to easily be able to find it. So I found Hazel-E's post. She made this post a few days after Cardi B put out her debut album. And this was also before her Iyanla special came out. I'm not going to read it all in full detail. You guys can go online and search it and find it. But basically, she brags about being on Oprah's network coming up. And she says, y'all going to stop trying to play me. And her beef with Cardi B and putting some of Cardi B's business out there. And then she says she ain't gonna be talking all that blood talk with me. I already told her twice what's happening. She didn't even know how to lock peas with Rose and Inglewood at the VMAs, but she's so Bartier. Freak out of here, come to the turf, and don't call Big U because we taking the West. Ebro ain't make her freestyle. I'm tired of these girls getting passes. I might not work for everyone on my knees, but I did in school, and my degrees prove that. Put some respect on Oprah name and check me out on her network on TV next Saturday. Now, y'all, I'm sure Oprah did not appreciate her name being put in this mess, and I'm sure that is why the post and delete happened afterwards. But I just didn't think this was a good look. Like, she literally was supposed to be working on being conscious as to what she posted on social media. And all she did was like rev up beef between her and Cardi B and blood talk and just being negative and starting things with women on purpose, which is what we've already seen of her on Love and Hip Hop so many times. So if you're really focused on changing your image, steer clear of those things. And then that statement came out before her Iyanla interview even came out. So there's people like me that are watching this on social media. So I'm going into this interview with a even more biased mindset as to who Hazel-E is. It's hard for me to feel sorry for you when it seems like you thrive off of this drama specifically with women. So I just don't think that's a good look, and I definitely think she needs to work on being more conscious of her social media presence. I'm not gonna discount her interactions that she had with darker skinned women when she was younger. Now, of course, that has shaped the way that she thinks about women, darker skinned women. So I do think that she should definitely seek additional counseling for that, because I'm not going to discount that that's not a real problem for her in her life. That would be a real problem for anybody. If no matter who it was, they may feel a specific type of way towards that certain person, but that certain group of people. But those people that did that to you, they're not a representative of the entire population that appear to be like them. Okay, they're not a representation of all darker skinned Black women. So that's definitely something that Hazel-E, I think she needs to seek additional counseling for, because it's not an excuse. And we have to stop using excuses for our behavior. We need to acknowledge our behavior and the root of the problem, where it came from, and seek that help and work towards improving, because everything that we do at this point in our lives as adults, that's on us. That's not on whoever did that to us. That's on us. Like, we have to take accountability at some point. So I definitely think that the colorism brought up in this episode was great. I appreciated that. And you guys let me know what you think. I gave you my take, and I would love to hear your take on this. We can have conversations below, and be sure to like and subscribe. So until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.